All right, welcome to another episode of the Why Influence podcast. Today we've got an awesome guest. His name is Dan, and he's got a YouTube channel called Creator Fundamentals. First of all, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on here today, Dan.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeremy.
Sure. I'm just going to poke around your YouTube channel real quick and talk through it. So we have, you're at just over 70,000 subscribers. So congrats on passing that giant milestone.
Thanks.
And you've got a total of 4.6 million views on YouTube. So that's pretty amazing. And according to Social Blade, you're getting anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 plus average views per day. So that's a lot of people to be touching every day. So that's congrats on getting to that point.
Thanks.
Sure. First of all, do you mind just, I know you create a lot of content to help content creators, and that's what your brand is about, but just in your own words, do you mind just talking about what your YouTube channel, what your brand is about?
Sure. So as you said, Creator Fundamentals was originally designed to basically share best practices. It was also kind of a proof of concept. When I first started on YouTube, I actually had a different channel. I still do have a different channel. It was called The Average Dan at the time. It is now called We Love RV Camping. And once I got serious in that realm and realized that there were, in fact, things that you could do to heavily influence the ability of your channel to grow, I decided it was time to create Creator Fundamentals. And I was involved in a lot of YouTuber communities. And one of the common themes, were discouraged people who thought that, it was too late to start. It couldn't be done. So I actually started this channel as with the intent of it being proof that it was not too late to start and that you could just use a fundamental approach to actually grow on YouTube.
So when you were hearing that, just curious, when was that? Like, how long ago did you launch this channel?
2017.
Okay, so 3 years.
Yep.
Nice.
And it was a challenge when you starting a YouTube education channel from zero. Is not something that most people typically do. So it certainly comes with its challenges. I know a lot of the other creators who are in my particular niche kind of started on a different topic and then transitioned into YouTube help or education. And I decided to do it from 0 subscribers. So, I took a little bit of flack from people who, didn't think that a small channel was in the right place to share that stuff. But obviously I've persevered and continued to just focus on that which I can control, and the channel has continued to grow.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to diving into that story because I think there's something interesting there. Real quick, we've got Developing the Leaders Within podcast who just joined us. Said, hey guys, he found us. Enrique found us through VidFest. Welcome.
Nice.
Before we jump into the heart of things here, do you mind sharing? You've got millions of people that or millions of views and likely millions of people that you've touched. Has anybody like reached out to you and told you, hey, as a result of you sharing this, it made this kind of impact on me, or any type of unintended consequences?
The thing that I kind of get over and over again, which is really most meaningful to me, are the comments that, I've watched 20 videos and yours was the first video that I could understand, and it helped me solve the problem that I had. When I first started YouTube back with The Average Dan, it was literally a channel that I created when I was trying to do, I was trying to make a repair on a car and I couldn't find the answer. So I made the video so the next person could find the solution. So I have a real appreciation for the people who come back and say, hey, I needed an answer. I couldn't find it anywhere else. And because I made the decision to make that video and share that wherever it is, whether it's cars or YouTube, seeing that feedback that my video helped somebody continue their journey is certainly rewarding.
Yeah, nice. And so when you started your channel, it's not like you expected that right out the gate. Like you were creating contents for other reasons, and you just had these unintended impacts as a result of sharing.
For sure. Yep.
Awesome. All right, so let's start off with YouTube advice here. So if you met a new YouTuber and they just started out, or they're about to start out, so very early, what would be some of the biggest advice that you would give this person?
So I think obviously the first and foremost is just start creating content. I think people get really caught up in the idea that they got to get the right equipment, that they have to learn how to make the perfect video. You just need to create a video and upload it to the platform. It's not going to be great. It's not supposed to be great. The goal is simply that you start that journey forward. And I always recommend that people focus on those things they can control. I call it 100 videos to success, which is basically work on making your next 100 videos. Each time you make a video, focus on making a small improvement on the next video. Don't stop a video because it's imperfect. Upload that video the way it is, reflect on it, take a look at it and say, hey, I bet you I can make my lighting better for next video. And then focus on that change for your next video. So you're not stopping yourself from progressing, but you're also building in a way in which to get better. And if you do that over the course of 100 videos, it's amazing how much progress you can make.
Yeah, I mean, 100 videos, you have to, and with the intention of self-improving through the process, I'm sure there'd be tremendous growth through that.
Right. And it also helps keep you focused on, again, controllable factors versus how many subscribers or views, because at the end of the day, even the greatest content doesn't always get immediately rewarded for their effort through subscribers and views. And you just need to know that you are moving in a direction, even if the reward from YouTube is going to be slightly delayed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, even before we started this conversation here, you can see I'm a little fuzzy. I was like messing with my camera. I'm like, well, we got to move forward. We can't, dread on this. And so here we are creating content with my fuzzy face.
Yep. Perfect is definitely the enemy of good. So you want to make sure that, you put out good content and don't get so caught up in the details that you're paralyzed from actually getting stuff done.
Yeah, for sure. So have you seen, you've told people that, about this 100 video approach, have you seen some pretty, miraculous results from people, who actually take that to heart and take action on that?
Definitely. It's such a mental, YouTube is very much, dependent on your mental attitude. I have seen, I know just from all the creators that I've interacted with, I can see the ones that are, still going strong today because they're focused on the right things. I also see, unfortunately, a lot of people who kind of throw their hands up and they kind of give up before the magic happens. And unfortunately, that's just not the way to move forward. And they say that, he who thinks he can and he who thinks they can are both right. And, it's kind of, it's just that it's as simple as that, but you really need to kind of put it in a way that people resonate with. Cause it's right. Everybody's a little bit different. And a lot of what I do is just trying to package the important messages in a way that people can receive them.
Right. Yeah. Got it. Awesome. That's great advice. Yeah. I mean, if you create 100 videos and you're intentional about it and you set that goal, then you'll definitely improve there. And then that's why this podcast is called Why Influence, because we always deep dive into the why behind it. Because if you don't have a powerful enough why, not only are you not going to get started, but you won't continue and push through all the barriers that get in the way. So right. I definitely look forward to jumping into your why here shortly.
Sure.
So let's say you meet an established YouTuber, so someone that's maybe around the experience of you, or maybe even further. What's some of your secret sauce that you feel like that you've done different than other people in your space that has attributed to some of your success?
I think that, again, the mindset does play a powerful role in who continues to grow. It's you see a lot of people who are enjoying the success. But to me, success is not what, is not driven off of your high points, but how you respond to your low points. And a lot of people get that initial rush. I know my brother, I finally got my brother to create his own YouTube channel, and he did something with one of his videos that I still haven't done. It's got over 1.5 million views on it.
Wow.
And, but after that initial success, there's always that down point below, after it, and it can kind of suck the wind out of you. So I think it's important that you stay the course no matter where you are in the journey, and it's great to enjoy the high points, but the people who continue to thrive on the platform are the ones who don't let the low points just discourage them completely.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I've seen a lot of creators who, stopped. You get that great success right off the bat, and then when you get so accustomed to that, and then you see that it's not like that ongoing, or it gets more competitive, that you really have to keep continuing forward to make the success happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, real quick, Enrique said that he got a lot of value from your talk at VidFest, and that he made some adjustments from that. So I just wanted to.
Awesome. That's great to hear. There you go. An unintended consequence, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about your story here. Where would you say the beginning was for when you were sharing in like a larger capacity? So larger than like, in person, but, some larger capacity. Like, was it the beginning of your YouTube channel, or was there something before that that you were sort of sharing in a larger way that built you up to that?
I think for me, it was probably YouTube. Again, it started with just trying to use YouTube as a tool to solve problems that I was experiencing. And then, deciding to make those first few videos about whatever it was, whatever car I had at the time that would constantly break down or need some type of maintenance, I would make those videos. And then starting to see that those videos were in fact helping people certainly gave me motivation to continue that. And then it was probably a few months into 2017, I think it was April of 2017, when I decided to get quote unquote serious about YouTube, and I started digging into all the best practices and things to learn what really works. And it was so significant for me at that time. That's when I was really like, I'm going to make a channel dedicated to sharing with people, showing people that you can make grow an audience and build a channel and be successful here on YouTube if you're willing to approach it in a fundamental way. And it has certainly moved that way since.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you have your other channel, which you started first. You did that for a little while, researched, learned, and then you're like, okay, let me start this other channel.
Yeah.
And you started the other channel because you saw that the first one was helping people, creating that content. So you're like, okay, well, this one can help people too.
Yeah, I can help people create a channel that can help people is essentially,
Right.
what it turned into. And I think that, and I don't think with, there's a lot of, people now, there's adults who have basically lived with the internet their entire lives. And our grandparents had a job. They would come home and they couldn't do a side hustle and reach an international audience. The fact that and I still see people who are, they'll complain when YouTube changes something, or they'll get discouraged. And the reality is, if you have an internet connection, if you have a phone in your pocket, and you have access to YouTube, you have an amazing opportunity to learn about anything you want for free, and then transform that interest into growing your own audience and developing income around that, where you can essentially, touching on my why, is you can develop your own freedom. You can create something that you love doing, and you can make money while doing it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your first YouTube channel when you started that. What was going through your head when you were putting those first couple videos out? Were you nervous? Did you, what was that like for you when you created the first videos for the first channel?
So interestingly enough, I didn't approach those videos. I've never actually been nervous on video. I know a lot of people have, and I've certainly been nervous in public settings. I absolutely despised and probably am still uncomfortable just talking in front of a live audience. But for some reason, getting on, I've done probably 100 or more live streams. I've never been nervous on a live stream or in front of the camera. So it's just kind of one of those weird things. I don't really know the science behind it. Yeah. But when I was doing the first videos, I wasn't going for production value. I wasn't trying to make a great video. I was simply trying to transfer knowledge. And basically, all the problems that we went through and frustration that we went through boiled down into, okay, here's how to do it the right way the first time, so you don't have to experience all of the pain that we did. So from that perspective, there wasn't a lot of discomfort for me, because I was simply just trying to make a record of what we had done so we could share it with other people.
Okay. So the personality in those early videos is more like articulate and just getting the point across, not as much of like a bunch of emotion and the vulnerability component wasn't fully there.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a large part of those, I don't like most of them because of the repair type nature they were. I wasn't on camera a lot, so it was just me talking in the background.
Okay.
So that probably played a role in it. But yeah, I haven't. I wouldn't say it came naturally, but it wasn't something I had to think twice about doing.
All right. So you did that for a couple months, and then you're like, okay, let's create this other YouTube channel where I can create, content on creating YouTube content. You mentioned earlier that you saw some negative stuff coming in, saying like your new channel, like who are you to be talking on this kind of stuff. So like, what are some of the barriers that you had starting that second YouTube channel, especially in the early days when you're talking about something that you're supposed to be an expert at, but you don't have like the social proof right up front?
Yeah. So one of the things I was very conscious of was never, and I still don't present myself as an expert. My goal is not to be an expert. It's not to show anybody that I know more than they do. It's simply sharing information that they might not have come across yet. So literally anybody could do what I do. And I think it's important that people understand that, and people kind of get caught up in that. But yes, obviously, just given the topic, there is always going to be some friction there in terms of this brand new channel. And I've seen it since I've started what I was doing. I've seen other channels come along and try to do that. And I've seen the comments that they face that are, a similar thing. Who do you think you are talking about this? You've done nothing, kind of,
Yeah.
And it's kind of the nature of the internet. You have to, everybody with opinions and everybody wants to share them, whether they're nice or not.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I figured out early on was that I was not going to be a fake it till you make it kind of person. I was going to be as honest and upfront as possible. And I think that helps. Just because somebody comes along and they want to put you down because they have this vision of what they think you're trying to be, at the end of the day, you just have to be true to yourself and what your mission is, and kind of block all that out, because it doesn't end. It grows the bigger you get. But once you've kind of learned that it's just noise and it's not really helpful to you, then it makes it a little bit easier to continue to move forward.
Yeah. So speaking on that, there's other people who are either concerned about getting comments like that or getting comments like that and trying to, work their way through it. Do you have any advice for overcoming those barriers of, when you're early in your channel creating content on something that you're passionate about, and then you're getting these comments from people saying that, you shouldn't be doing this?
So, I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can deal with it. One of the best things to do is actually more of a technical thing, which is setting up filters on your channel to kind of look for people who may not be saying nice things, and kind of filter that stuff out so you don't have to see it. There's some YouTube will kind of learn from what you tell it, and it will kind of identify things that may be on the fringe or they think are stuff you might not want to see. Plus you have some filters and things that you can add, like vulgar language and other terms and phrases and things to hide, so you never have to deal with that. I can't, everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to take those things in a different way. Here's what I'll tell you. Usually the loudest people have accomplished nothing. So if you want to,
Right.
if you want to take advice from somebody who spends their time being angry at other people who are actually out there making videos, I would just suggest that you not worry about them, because you've taken the step to actually make a video. You're putting yourself out there. You're willing to move forward, and those other people are just jealous of that fact, and they share that jealousy through negative comments.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I could definitely see how that would be a beneficial mindset for that. Thanks. Uh, so when you started the second YouTube channel, was it a business idea from the beginning? Did you think you're going to create a lifestyle around it? Did you see the vision from the start, or what was your why for overall for starting that second channel?
So what I have now become to realize is my why is something that came along later in the process. Um, what I kind of discovered and what I feel today about a lot of people when they start out because they don't have the knowledge or the confidence that the business side is feasible, refer to it as a hobby. And I probably did as well when I started. It's just a hobby because you don't want to put yourself out there and say, I want this to be a business. And then if it fails, you told everybody that you wanted to succeed and you obviously
Right.
didn't. So that's kind of a transition people have to go through. And it happens at different times for different people. But for me, it was kind of an interesting story because my channel, I put in probably 6 or 8 months of probably average growth, and then my channel kind of exploded based on a particular topic. And so it's you just kind of have to understand that that's the way it's going to be, and do the best you can with it. So
Yeah. Okay. So you had 6 to 9 months where you had minimal growth. You had to be willing to be pushing through that. Not for reasons of having monetary gains. There is really just because it was something of interest to you. You wanted to learn more, and then share what you're learning and help others. Was the reasons for getting you through those first 6 to 9 months.
yeah, for sure. At that point, it was simply, I did have the mindset that I wanted it to be successful and I did want it to be that example for others. So that was there was no expectations of money at all at that time. And then it was actually shortly thereafter, there were some changes in YouTube, which kind of changed the whole monetization policy that would have taken money away anyway. But that's part of the story of how my channel changed. My other channel actually got demonetized when they made the changes. So it
Wow.
certainly wasn't about money at that point.
Yeah. Well, for the listeners out there, just want to reiterate that a lot of times the why isn't clear, but if you're able to start, Dan was able to discover his why, during his journey of sharing. So a lot of times people figure it out as they go, and I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, for sure. And deep down, it was there, but until you actually examine it and kind of, peel away the layers and figure out what is it that I'm ultimately trying to achieve and why do I do what I do, that I think it helps you, it helps you to go through that process and figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. So now you're, a couple of years into this, you've established yourself in the space. What would you say your why is for, continuing and into the future as far as what's foreseeable for you?
So my why is personal freedom, and it's personal freedom for me, and it's personal freedom for the people that I share content with. The idea that life is too short to, work in a 9 to 5 job where somebody else gets to tell you how to spend your time and decide whether or not you've done a good job. It is trying to, make time to spend with your family or whatever it is that's meaningful to you. For me, it's certainly family and financial freedom to the point where you have the flexibility to do things and experience things. Plus for me, it's also to have the luxury of being able to have the time to do other creative things beyond, simply creating content. So I personally think that everybody has that freedom that they would love to obtain. It might be slightly different, whether it's, a financial thing, or you just love to have extra time with your family, but you can't because you're working 60 hours a week or whatever it is. Right. There's just tremendous opportunity out there if you're willing to put in the work.
And for your story, did this start out as a hobby side hustle while you had a job, and then at some point you went full time with it? Or I guess what's the story behind that?
So I actually still have a full-time career outside of this. So
Okay.
I actually did this when I started this channel. It was starting at 9 o'clock at night, 3, 4, 5 nights a week, working till midnight or 1 o'clock, and putting out content and growing the channel. So it was a bit of a grind. Um, it was a bit of a grind, and I just had to plow through, and because I really wanted it to be successful, and obviously I was doing a lot of learning along the way. And it's so far it has worked out all right.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I think a lot of listeners are probably curious. You know, you've been able to build, a very successful YouTube channel while being full time, and a lot of people say like the biggest barrier for them is time for creating content, putting it out there, and even people with time, still struggle. So I guess, do you have any advice for time management, time hacks that you found that are working for you in your situation that other people might be able to take advantage of?
Definitely. So the what I found, some of the biggest time hacks, if you will, for me was had to do with the way in which I approached content. One, you want to always be thinking about content when you're not near the camera. You don't want to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to make a video. What's it going to be about? You want to use your downtime where you're elsewhere. You have time, whether that's laying in bed at night or whatever, making a list of content ideas. You want that part to be taken care of before you even think about making a video. The other really key thing is to consider the process that you're doing now to make a video. Consider how many things you have to do before you're ready to click record and start making that video. If that's a 15-step list, then there's probably a really good reason why you're discouraged about making videos. You want to be able to identify if you can isolate someplace in your home or wherever that you can keep set up for the most part. If you have to like set up a green screen in your living room or something like that, you're going to get really discouraged. I know, because that is how I started a green screen in my living room, because I thought green screen is what professional was all about. I don't use a green screen anymore. And over time, I moved into this area in my home, and I worked on making the background more interesting to look at. And then I also did some other things. So with my camera, I used to try to, I'd try to say something. If I messed up, I'd stop the camera. I'd recompose myself. I'd start the camera. Now I just let the camera roll, mistakes and all. I end up with one file to edit. And then I go through and I just trim out all the mistakes, and I'm left with that single file with all the good parts. And then I do my additional editing from there. But it's those little things, those interruptions, and the lengthy step process that you really want to make as efficient as possible. So even if a video idea hits you and you hadn't planned for it, you want to be able, and honestly, one of the reasons my channel took off is because I did these steps ahead of time and everything was ready to go. So when a very hot topic came up related to the YouTube community, I was able to literally sit down, hit record, put out a video. I was the first one to get the topic out, and it had amazing benefits for my channel.
Yeah, that's huge advice. Thanks for sharing that. I had a few comments come in. Awesome tips from Make Anything Easy. We also had a great show. It's going great. But yeah, I think lowering the barrier to getting content out is huge, and the easier you can make that happen, the better. Especially if you're doing it as a side hustle or just doing it as a side project or a hobby. Even before we started, you had mentioned that you've got the camera you're using now, you've got set up as a permanent camera that's always there, so that you can always just hit that record button, or join a live stream here without having to set up a camera and fuss around with it.
Yep.
So I think that those time hacks are very beneficial for that.
Definitely. And also just while on the topic of cameras real quick, don't get so caught up in your gear. The first 100 videos I did on my channel were done with an iPhone. So you can absolutely make decent content with the camera that you have. And there's, things that you can do to make that as efficient as possible. So I actually, everything that I use in my studio now was paid for by revenue I received from YouTube. So YouTube paid for all of this. and allowed me to upgrade my camera and lights and the studio and everything else. So don't feel like you have to spend money to get started.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah. And Jeff said that this is Jeff, by the way. I know it's Jeff, but he was asking if you use any marks. So when you are recording one piece of content, you make a mistake. Are you raising your hand, clapping your hands? Is there any kind of mark that you're using so that when you go back and edit, it's very easy for you to go back and check where you made those mistakes?
The way that I actually do it is I use Premiere Pro to edit, and I actually look at the audio track. And because I record most of my videos without, in single trains of thought. I don't stop a lot. I can basically look and see the longest section without an interruption. So if I see two that are a ½ inch and then one that's an inch, I know that last one is the one that I got right.
Okay. So you pause for a second, or, a little bit extended pause when you're going to re-say something.
Yeah. So yeah, if I mess up, I'll usually stop, and it's just enough in the audio, with the right settings. I don't pick up any noise in between talking. So it's real easy to see, where I'm talking versus where I'm not.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about your community. You've built, quite a community on YouTube, and, people manage communities completely different. And I'm just curious if you don't mind sharing, where your community sits. Is it mostly on YouTube and engaged through comments? Is there a hub? What's the community feel like? Do they engage a lot with each other? Just, sort of a feel of what your community is like.
So my community is kind of spread between both people who are subscribed to my channel, as well as all the relationships that I've made within my niche and, other content creators. Like I said, when I first started, community is essential. So one of the ways I started to learn was to join other YouTuber communities. And so in the greater sense of community, the people that I interact with on a regular basis when we're talking YouTube and stuff like that are a mixture of the friends I've made, both, online and attending conferences, as well as, people that are just viewers. And honestly, there's plenty of people in that group that started because they were subscribed to my channel, but I've never really differentiated. I've never, you're somebody who was watching my channel. So it's all kind of a blur in terms of how the relationship started. They're just other YouTubers that I know now. So, but yeah, YouTube, I have a Facebook group called YouTube Simplified that is just a place for people to come in and share ideas and get feedback and stuff like that. I also have a small group that I meet with through my conference that I host, called POV Society, that we get together once a month and kind of talk shop on YouTube and stuff like that. So
awesome. Yeah, I saw that on your website. Actually, when I clicked it, the link didn't work. So just
good to know. Which website? Creator Fundamentals?
I'll send you a link after this.
All right.
I'll make sure that we figure that out. So it's
breaking news, right?
Yeah. Awesome. So, I know that you mentioned that you have a full-time job and you're reinvesting a lot of the money you're making from YouTube into upgrading YouTube equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people want to be content creators, and oftentimes full-time, but you've been able to sort of do both with full-time. But from a high level, do you mind sharing just like your income sources, just like, how you're able to make a living doing what you're doing, just as high level as you're comfortable doing. It helps the listeners know how they can.
Yeah, and I'll share real numbers with your audience. I'm completely transparent when it comes to the money. Okay. So basically this year, Creator Fundamentals will, if I think we're probably already there. So in its third year, it has made over $50,000 as a side thing. So that comes from a variety of places. It comes from ad revenue from YouTube. It also comes from affiliate links and affiliate relationships with products and services and brands that I work with. It comes from the conference that I host, People of Video, and as well as some consulting, doing one-on-ones with people, teaching them how, the people who want kind of an accelerated learning approach to that. So it's and there's been a couple that have come and go. I used to do Patreon. I don't do Patreon anymore. I have YouTube memberships now. So all those things kind of go around. I can say that for those people who get ad revenue, I think is like 14% of the total income. So the channel will probably push like $60,000 by the end of the year, just doing it part-time. So and that's addition to my careers. And if somebody wants to get into it full-time, obviously there's a lot more opportunity. I just recommend not, quitting your day job until you've established income,
right.
Cause we're just getting started and it's going to continue to grow, but it's not an overnight thing. So, in a year or two, it will very well be its own, sustainable income source. But I certainly, at least from my point, being a father with kids and everything else, that it's something that I've done on the side.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing the details, and congrats on the progress you've made to this point.
Thanks.
You've got, I wanted to give a shout out. So I did see on your website, you had the calendar and you could sign up to, talk to Dan if you wanted to get even as low as I think a 10-minute conversation with you. Was on there.
Yeah, yep. You can actually, if you have a quick question or something that you want to do, I put that out there just because, consulting can be pricey for people. But at the same time, you have to have a way to kind of manage your time and stuff. So I tried to create a short little opportunity. If somebody has something that's been bugging them and they can't find the right video on YouTube, that you can go out to the website and schedule a quick call to kind of figure it out and get that answer that's been eluding you.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to give a shout out that in case anyone listening, wants to get a moment of your time. I mean, there's I saw a 5 hour, I think 5 hour, maybe 8 hour. There's like a full day kind of thing I saw on there too. And then Jeff said, thanks for sharing the numbers. So, yeah, thanks, Jeff. Cool. So knowing that, a lot of listeners here today are people that are trying to grow their influence, grow their voice, grow their channels, grow a lifestyle out of doing this, both from a new standpoint and from an established standpoint. Do you have any last words for listeners here today before we jump into how they can get a hold of you and where to go?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a plan, you have to have a strategy, and that doesn't have to be any more complicated than focusing on things that you can control, knowing that the work you're doing is meaningful. It is helping your brand and channel grow, even in times when YouTube doesn't make you feel that way. I'm up over 70,000 subscribers, and 2020 was what I would consider an off year, where there's just ebbs and flows. YouTube's constantly tweaking algorithms and things like that. So there are going to be times when you feel like you're putting in extra work and you're not seeing the response, but just know that you are building that library, you're building that credibility and reputation, and just keep pushing forward, because, each one of those videos can help somebody, and any one of those videos is just another seed that you've planted that could eventually grow and provide great benefit to you and your channel.
Awesome. Yeah, you heard it from Dan. So once you start, you got to keep going and don't stop, because if you stop, you're never going to see that it actually could have worked. So keep going. And Dan's proven that he's been able to build out a YouTube channel in a competitive space to be successful in a matter of a short time and on the side. So that's amazing. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, to follow you, where do you want to send them if they got value from today? Do you want them to send you a private message, an email? Like, where do you want people to go? And I'll make sure to link everything in the description as well as in the show notes.
So you can certainly find my content at youtube.com/creatorfundamentals. If anybody wants to reach me directly, you can email askdan@creatorfundamentals.com. If you're trying to see if consulting is right for you, you can go to contactdan.com and set up a 15-minute call for free. And we can talk about whether consulting is the right fit for you, depending on where you are in your YouTube journey. And yeah, I'm also on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. So you can either search for Creator Fundamentals or by my name, and you should be able to find me.
Yeah, and all the links will be in the description here. So we'll make sure that it's easy for you to jump on there and see Dan's stuff. So before I let you go, I'm on a journey myself to, grow and self-develop. When I first started, I was, uncomfortable putting myself out there. Started with an audio-only podcast, and then after 30 episodes, I did my first live stream, and then from there, I've done live streams ever since. So I'm just constantly self-developing. I'm just curious, based on this conversation or how our interaction went, if you have any feedback, either positive or constructive, for me and what you've experienced.
I think it's great what you're doing. And again, the looking at your website, you got it all, tricked out with like 400 different places to find your podcast. So you're definitely out there in the distribution. And I think the video is a great way to add something more to a podcast. I've been meaning forever to start my own podcast. So I might be the one that needs tips, but one of these days, I'm going to get the podcast going. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to be a guest.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And real quick, if anybody is listening and here live and has a question, feel free to plug it in real quick. And I'm just going to give a quick shout out to, TubeBuddy for sponsoring not only this podcast, but also our community. And, if you're looking to grow your influence, TubeBuddy. If you're looking to grow your influence and your voice in the community, then I definitely encourage you to keep checking out these videos and these interviews. But as well as if you want to get more involved, we have a weekly meetup with creators. And there's a link in the description, but as well as on the website, whyinfluence.com, where you can click the community tab and join our conversation and get some support, and sort of like a mastermind environment with some other creators as well. So let's see what came up here. Oh, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, you did an awesome job. So yeah, Jeff attends the meetups. He's creating a new YouTube channel called Make Anything Easy, and
nice.
He's getting ready to launch that. So it's exciting.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks again, Dan. Go check out Dan's stuff. Go to his website. Go to all social medias. Everything's in the description. And if you're trying to grow your YouTube presence and you think Dan can help you out, then definitely consider jumping on a call with him as well.
Awesome.
And one more thing is, as your journey evolves, I'd love to have you back on sometime, and just share, because right now you just hit your 50, possibly 60K. You're still working full time, but in the future things will change and evolve. So I'd love to see how that journey goes.
Anytime.